Hello, this is Paranormal Girl, and today I'm going to talk about dragons, Celts, and Druids. There is a certain cosmic sensibility to the myths and legends of the Celtic peoples, a sense of things being bigger than they seem. Power flows beneath the skin of the world to the Celtic mind, accessible along the path of dragons and the mouth of stones. It was the Druids who could see it, interpret it for their brother Celts, follow the lines of power, and show them where to build their villages and sanctified places. A mystery. The Celts are a mystery even now. They once ranged across the width and breadth of Europe, from the forests of Germany to the hills of northern Italy. Their greatest concentration was perhaps in Scotland, Ireland, and England. The Celts of Great Britain are what many modern people think of when they hear the word Celt, but in truth, they were the people who spread from one end of ancient Europe to the other, and they left their mark stamped upon the face of the continent, though they themselves are gone now, for the most part. Druids and dragons. Druids and Celtic dragons, on the other hand, are more familiar to the modern mind. What do you think of when you hear the term Druid? A robed figure, mistletoe in one hand, a scythe in the other, standing over a stone slab, and a screaming victim. Horror films have a lot to answer for in terms of our familiarity with the concept of the Druid. In reality, Druids were the priests and seers of the Celts. Druids engaged the cosmic on a daily basis, pitting their knowledge against the raw force of the mystic energies which the Celts believed permeated their lands. They would pinpoint the best places to till the soil, or carve stone, or build a home, and show their people the places to best avoid. Too, they had a strange relationship with the concept of the dragon. Dragons, while commonly thought of as fire-breathing marauders, were to the Celts indicators of places of great power. Where dragons trod, mystic energy flowed, and where they laired were invariably places of great sanctity and mystical harmony. While dragons were dangerous, they were also indicators of fertility of life. The path of the dragon was the Celtic term for ley lines. The ley lines for the initiated were the stretches of mystic power which crisscrossed the land. Druids hunted these lines, made a ley line map for their people, instructing them to build their temples and homes along the lines in order to harvest the energies. Dragons, Druids, and Celts are all inextricably linked by these bands of power. For the Celt, dragons, though deadly and frightening, represented the continuation of life and health. They were omens of good harvest, of a year of plenty. And the Druids were the ones who found the dragons and interpreted their meaning for a given group of Celts. For these ancient peoples, everything hummed and sparkled with the lightning of the gods. Where dragons walked, the lightning was visible, and where Druids indicated, the lightning was controllable for the good of the Celtic people. Animal symbols of the Celtic Druids. Everything in Mother Nature is considered sacred by the Celtic Druids. So, every plant, tree, animal, fish and bird is seen as sacred too. But in the same way that some trees and plants such as the oak and mistletoe receive special veneration, so do certain creatures receive particular attention by the Druids. According to their particular characteristics, different animals were used by the Celtic Druids to symbolize different powers, attributes or gifts. They are often connected with the world of spirits and gods. The dragon. Inspiration, imagination, wealth, power, and vitality. The most powerful of all Celtic Druid animal symbols, the dragon, represented the whole of creation. The Celts also associated dragon with the elements. Each element is governed by the specific energies and qualities and are ruled by either the feminine or masculine aspect of the divinity. Air, for example, is a masculine-ruled element. The elder spirit associated with the aspect of the old man. As part serpent and part bird, the dragon symbolizes the union of the beneficial elements of water and air, of matter and spirit. The fiery breath of the green dragon was believed to purify and give new life. To the Celts, the dragon was a creature of a parallel world and played an important role in the Celtic religion. It is a gatekeeper to other worlds and also a guardian of wealth. Dragons are also frequently found in churches, both outside to ward off evil and inside, often in the company of the green man symbol. Celtic mythology. There are numerous references to dragons in Celtic mythology. Most cultures considered the dragon as a benevolent dweller of caves, lakes, and the inner earth. In ancient times, it was a symbol of wealth and associated with the power of the elements, particularly that of the earth, but also of the treasure of the subconscious mind. Dragons often appear in many varieties as a water serpent or worm-shaped beast, as well as a more well-known winged depiction. The dragon represented the supernatural forces that guarded the great secrets and treasures of the universe. Celtic dragons. The dragon has been a creature of myth and legend for centuries throughout the world. In his book, View Over Atlantis, in 1969, John Michel says, in every continent of the world, the dragon chiefly represents the principle of fertility. The creation of the earth and the appearance of life came about as a result of the combination of the elements. The first living cell was born out of the earth, fertilized from the sky by wind and water. From this union of yin and yang sprang the seed which produced the dragon. Every year the same process takes place. It may seem strange to speak of yin and yang, so obviously Oriental terminology. When speaking about Celtic life and legend, while the terms may be from the Orient, the concepts are not uniquely so. Michel observed how the ancient practice of feng shui in China contributed to the harmony of the landscape and the people. He also observed that geomancy had been practiced in ancient Britain. When an ancient Celt, and especially Druids, would survey the land for any activity, for example building, festival celebrations, etc., they would speak of the lay of the land. Today we use the same term, although it has a related but different meaning. Today, when we speak of the lay of the land, we often picture exactly how the hills roll or the shape of the river as it flows. More of the concrete concept of how the land lays or actually and physically appears. But to the ancient Celt, the lay of the land meant how the magic or cosmic forces flowed through and affected the area, or how the area affected those forces. The Celts believed that dragons were creatures of the parallel world, and their power and presence would affect the lay of the land. The places associated with dragon legend, the nerve centers of seasonal fertility, appear always to coincide with sites of ancient sanctity, Michel adds. The path of the dragons, called a vein, was critical to the flow of energy or lay of the land. If there was a spot that the dragon crossed often, a spot where the veins crossed, or a spot where the dragon would stop to rest, that became a spot of heightened power. Stonehenge is thought to be one of those places. In addition, some believe that the Celtic cross surrounded by a circle is a symbol of the crossing of the ley lines, and how the circle of life should be centered on that power. King Arthur himself was burdened by dreams of dragons, although it's unclear which colour he saw. He saw them specifically at the times of Sir Mordred's conception and before his death. He is eaten by dragons in his final dream, and it's his next battle that Sir Mordred kills him. It is said that when a king sees dragons, there will be much ruin to come to his kingdom and his self. With the introduction of Christianity to the Celts came the change in the role of dragons. Some people even believe that there were no dragons in Celtic mythology until the English came, mainly because there is no record of them in the Celtic world until then. However, it is more probable that there was simply no written record of their existence. The Celt stories surviving by oral tradition. The sudden appearance of dragons when the Christians invaded can easily be explained by the meticulous efforts that the Christians gave to written records. The Apostolic Church was very good at taking local beliefs and using that beliefs for its own benefit. Take, for example, the story of St. George. Here the great power of the dragon is turned into the power of the devil. Traditional symbolism holds that St. George slayed the dragon, or Satan, to save the maid, Christianity. It's also very convenient that the Celtic symbol was the dragon. Today, the dragon is continually popular among the Celtic revitalists, especially storytellers and craftsmen. And we must not forget that dragons have never gone out of style for the Welsh, for it is their flag which proudly displays the red dragon, and their motto reads Ydraid Goch, very Cythwen, the red dragon leads the way. Celtic dragons, mythical power source. There is no more powerful symbol than Celtic dragons. To invoke such reverence from the Celts, who were one of the most fierce and rugged ethnic groups in ancient times, they must have been much more than just fire-breathing beasts. Although dragons are usually associated with Asia, these mythical creatures can be found in fairy tales and folklore all over the world, including Celtic Ireland. In the secular world of Celtic chiefs and warriors, dragons are merely symbols of the power of the chief. Indeed, the Celtic word for chief is Pendragon. But in the esoteric world of spirituality, Celtic dragons represent much more. What magical powers do these mystical creatures possess that were so important that we can find tales including rituals of sacrifice to the mighty dragons? According to Trevor Mendham of Dragonorama, dragons were an important part of Celtic lore. The Celts were highly attuned to the land of dragons, were believed to influence the land. Areas frequented by dragons were believed to possess special powers. Dragons have always been associated with the power of the land. Even today, in many esoteric rituals, people believe that invoking the eye of the dragon will increase their personal power. The ancient Druids believed the earth itself was like the body of a dragon, and they built their sacred stone circles upon the power nodes of this body. They believed dragons connected us with the earth's magnetism and healing waters. Many of us have heard the mysteries of the ley lines, especially in relation to the location of mystical sites such as Stonehenge and the site of many mystical crop circles. What you may not know is that another way of saying ley lines is dragon lines. In ancient Celtic Ireland, the lay of the land was not about the geographical physical nature of one's surrounding. It had a much more powerful meaning than that. To the ancient Celts, The lay of the land was a term describing how the cosmic forces flowed through and influenced the area, as well as how the area itself affected those cosmic forces. Dragons were thought to have a tremendous influence on the lay of the land, hence the term dragon lines. But far from the terrifying creatures we see in films, dragons were more than the fire-breathing beasts with the power to destroy. The Anglo-Saxon word dragon is derived from the Greek word meaning to see clearly. They believed dragons had the gift of vision, wisdom, and prophecy. Dragons were considered the guardians of all knowledge and wisdom. As Celtic artist Kari Bozaic design demonstrates, Celtic art often depicts Celtic dragons swallowing their tails in a never-ending circle, symbolizing eternal life, much like the symbolism of knotwork triskells. The dragons were revered like gods, believed to bring earthly and heavenly forces together. Celts believed dragons guarded the gate to both the heavens and the underworld. As guardian spirits who protect the earth and all living things, Celtic dragons are arguably the most powerful of all the Celtic symbols. So what do you think of the dragon yourself? Do you think it was an actual creature of mythology? I think they actually were here. I think they've been here for thousands upon thousands of years. I think they were here before even we were here. And what I think is they were the ones that taught us. They were the ones that had the magical powers. They were able to talk, and they taught us many mystical things. They also told Merlin a lot of things, and they also showed him some magic. Yes, dragons had the gift of magic as well, and they did pass that knowledge on. So, has anyone here seen a dragon? It would be good if we could. You never know. We might one day.